William Butler Yeats, born in Dublin, Ireland, is considered to be one of the greatest poets of the 20th century. He was educated both in London and in Dublin. He was one of the pioneers of the Irish revival movement of arts and culture. In fact, he had co-founded the iconic Abbey Theatre in Dublin. In 1923, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. His first collection, The Wanderings of Oisin and Other Poems, was published in 1889. Some of his famous poems are The Second Coming, Sailing to Byzantium, The Wild Swans at Coole, and Easter 1916. The Lake Isle of Innisfree is a poem of longing. We all long for home, don't we? Especially when we are far away from it. Especially when we live somewhere we don't want to. Yeats also dreamed of his home amidst nature, far away from the city of London, where he was residing at the time. He wrote this poem after hearing the sound of a water fountain as he walked down a London street. The sound stirred up his desire to return to Innisfree, a small island near his childhood home in Ireland. Let's see what Yeats wrote about Innisfree. Yeats declares that he will get up and go to Innisfree. He seems to want to get away from the life he was leading in the city. In Innisfree, he will build a small cabin of clay and wattles. He will also plant 9 rows of bean plants and build a hive for honey bees. And in this cabin, he will live alone, surrounded by the sound of honey bees. In Innisfree, he is certain he will experience peace at all times of the day. In the mornings, when the day dawns slowly and the crickets are singing. In the afternoons, when the sky is filled with a purple glow. In the evenings, when the sound of linnet's wing fills the air. And at midnight, under the glimmering sky. So strong is his longing to return home that Yeats again declares that he will go to Innisfree. Day and night he hears the sound of water gently coming up the shores of the lake. The sound is so profound. It calls to his heart when he's standing on dull city pavements. It reminds him of living amidst nature and fills him with a deep desire to return home, to a serene, tranquil life away from the noise of the city. Let's look at the literary elements of the poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree. The Lake Isle of Innisfree makes use of rich sensory imagery to signify the intensity of Yeats' desire to build himself an ideal home and escape from the city that he lives in now. There are 2 types of prominent sensory imagery used in Yeats' poem, visual and sound. Phrases like "bee loud glade," "cricket sings," "linnet's wings," and "water lapping" are examples of sound imagery in the poem. The visual imagery is shown through purple glow and glimmer, which lends a magical air to Innisfree. This imagery contrasts with the visual imagery that Yeats provides in the 3rd stanza, using the phrase "pavements grey." Unlike the countryside, which has soothing sights and sounds, the city's dull. Yeats clearly shows the contrast between living amidst nature and living in the city. The poem is quite rhythmic, and one of the devices Yeats has used to achieve this is alliteration. Lines like "hive for the honeybee" and "lake water lapping" create a musical effect. Yeats has also used anaphora, a device where beginning words of a sentence are repeated to create a deliberate artistic effect. By repeating the phrase, "I will arise and go now," in the first and third stanza, Yeats emphasizes not just his desire to return home, but also his dislike of the city. In the poem, Yeats personifies the cricket. By coining the phrase, "cricket sings," he focuses on the idyllic quality of it.